boxing is such a dangerous sport, and there's so many aspects to the sport that you can't thrust guys into it. You know, you've got to make sure that they're well grounded, they're well developed, they understand the support, and they get the support from the right teams around them. Trainers like Xav, who's been in and around small hall shows and large hall shows, he knows what it means to develop these kids on these shows. We've lost a fantastic promoter in Steve Goodwin a couple of months ago because, you know, there's not enough infrastructure for small hall shows. So a lot of fighters are going to suffer in terms of development, in terms of opportunities, because the larger promoters pick and choose from the cream of the top. You know, so all the other fighters who are working hard on the ground, in the gyms, in the small gyms, in the unknown gyms, on the streets, who don't get the opportunity. You know, boxing is that sport that these kids who couldn't do anything would find a gym, get some gloves and lace them up and go in these gyms. And you know, a trainer would see them and go, you know, I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to look after you. Seems like it's gone. Seems like the ones who are getting the opportunities now are the ones who are well-to-do, you know, who've got loads of Instagram followers, who've got loads of support, come from well-to-do families, you know. The kids on the street, they're not getting those opportunities, you know. The kids who've got no family, you know, they're from single parents, they're schools that they get kicked out of. They're the ones you've got to give the opportunities to, and they're not getting them. And someone like Steve Goodwin is a major, major, major loss to boxing and small hall boxing.
I saw you nodding when we were discussing Steve Goodwin. Yeah, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I think with Steve, I think Steve was one of the first guys to give me an opportunity, because he told me that I wouldn't. He's one of the first people who said to me, "You've got a lot of fighters on my platform, but he said you wouldn't be here long." And I'd only been like coaching like for a couple of years at that point, and then, you know, a couple of years later, I had some big name fighters. So he's been a massive support to me, and you know, Steve and his whole family have been amazing, and I'm just grateful to have Steve around for all those years, because, you know, he's a very, very he's a very good businessman, understands structure, and the reason why his shows are so successful is because they were planned well in advance. So if you had a box on a Steve show, it was very unlikely it was going to get pulled. That's why I trusted Steve with my boxes. That's why I made everyone go through the Goodwin promotion banner, you know, before moving them on to the next platform. So yeah, honestly, massive loss. And as Mick said earlier, you know, that void's got to get filled, and it's going to be difficult because the promoters in general are losing a lot of money. So it's going to be hard. The next 12 months for me, small show is going to be key. Yeah. If you don't back these small promoters, like the ones that are around now, you know, TM40s, the Nielsen's, top tier, if you don't back them financially, you know, the same thing could happen.
It is, to me, it's almost like not having an amateur scene. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the two things are crucial. That if you don't want to go down the amateur route, you can, you know, learn your trade in the small halls. So it always surprises me when people kind of look down their nose at that. But but in a respect,
we understand it's a business. We understand that boxing is a business, but it's also a support. And the main commodity in that sport and that business is the boxers. The main commodity. Without the boxers, you ain't got no sport. You ain't got no business. And I think some of them are overlooked from the business point of view. It's about making a fast buck, making a load of money at the front end, rather than working away and developing an opportunity for fighters. Like, I can't believe today that Ahmed and Micky are not on the top table. Two British fighters, undefeated fighters, fighting for the British title.
British and Commonwealth
title. To one of the most prestigious belts, the Lord Lonsdale belt, and the oldest sanctioning body, the Commonwealth. Two undefeated British fighters fighting for that, and there's not a space for them on the interviews. There's not a space for them on the top table.
Why do you think that is?
Well, you have to ask the promoters that. Because how are these fighters gonna sell tickets? How are they gonna get to the next level if the promoters ain't helping to promote them? The definition of the name promoter is you promote the fights that you're putting on. So if you've got two British undefeated fighters here, why are they not on the top table? Why are you not promoting that show? I know it's about David Allen and the headline, but one of these fighters, touch wood, hopeful to God it's Ahmed Hatim, is going to walk away a British and Commonwealth champion. Is that when you're going to start the promoting? Should be doing it now. And that's me personally, that's where I see the problem is. Fighters like Ahmed and Louis, you know, they're overlooked. And I think a lot more needs to go into them because grassroots boxing is dying. If someone like Steve Goodwin, a 5 or 6 time Southern Area Promoter of the Year, has walked away from the sport, That alone tells you. Steve walked away from the sport. Wasn't kicked out, wasn't booted out. He walked away from the sport because it wasn't giving him enough. You know, there wasn't enough support. So if he's walking away, that tells you where boxing is at the grassroots level.
And when you talk about support, are you talking about necessarily financial, or are you just talking in general?
I took the whole aspects of the sport. So you've got the Zone, who now have covered themselves in kind of taking all of the boxing entities. You know, you've got the Sky, who've gone with Zuffa boxing and what's it called? Jake Paul's shows. What about putting some of these small hall promoters together, doing something with these small hall promoters on a Wednesday night, you know, so that there is boxing, not challenging the Zone and all the other ones, but on a Wednesday night where some of these lesser ticket sellers can get the opportunity to fight. We're not asking to pay them loads and loads and loads of money, but what we're asking for is the opportunity. When you look at the big promoters and the big networks, and you look at the top money at the top end, the 50s, the hundreds of millions of amounts of money they've earned, and they've not filtered it down into the grassroots boxing, it's criminal. It's criminal. And you're going to lose fighters like Ahmed, like Amoo-Bediako, who are working their way up through Southern area, through English, through British, and they're not getting the opportunity.
Because Rui did the same, didn't he?
Rui did the same. Look, the highest earning boxer in the country, Conor Ben, has never won a Southern area, has never won an English, has never won a British, has never won a Commonwealth. He's never won none of these belts. And these belts are the ones that ground you as a fighter. As a British fighter, they ground you. They give you the development you need to go and be on the world stage. Now, it's not funny that he's never won a world title. But if he had gone through that, you never know where his standing may be. You know, I'm not saying that he isn't a good fighter, but we want our fighters to have that road of development so that we can produce more and more world-level fighters.
But also, you want people to get behind them. You want people to get a following. That idea you've come up with for the Wednesday night, I'm sure someone's going to nick it and take the credit.
They can do it, but as long as it benefits the fighters, as long as it benefits the boxers who need that, it doesn't matter. It's not stealing it. It's progression. It's helping the sport.